So, moving on to the next section of the podcast where we talk about your area of expertise, which is AI and the growth and the bubble or whatever you may want to call it, right? The hype around AI. We want to talk about that for a while now. So, the first question to you about AI is that you have seen AI in corporate, you have seen AI in academia. Who really is driving the innovation for AI? Is it the corporate or the academia?
It's a very difficult question to answer. So, when I look at the basic research, again, there is also some kind of a difference based on the demographic. So, when I look at the basic research from we call that those conferences as A-star conferences, right? So, all the basic research, all the trending research generally are, you can see in the A-star conferences. Like say, for example, one of the areas that I work in is computer vision, right? In the area of computer vision, one of the such A-star conference is CVPU, Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition. So when you look at the proceedings of such a conference, you see that it's a mix of both. There are very good academic researchers who are really coming up with the new algorithms. And new algorithms, when I say new algorithms, I mean fundamentally new approaches which they are coming forward with, right? At the same time, you'll also see a lot of industry-driven innovation, especially the labs in US, the tech labs in US, like the Google or the Meta or the kind of innovations which are coming from those labs are really, really powerful. But I think the most, the best works come when industry and academics, they decide to work together because they bring two different strengths. Industry knows what is needed, what's problems are there to solve, right? What real life problems are there to solve. And at the same time, academicians or academic researchers, they have the best fundamentals of it, right? The concepts, their theoretical concepts, they are grasped in subjects like mathematics and statistics and computer science. That's definitely way ahead than the industry practitioners, most of them, right? So when the industry practitioners and the academic experts, they join hands, you'll see the best of the outcomes have come in those situations, right? So I would say, though it is a big aspirational in context of a country like India, we are still not there. In India, I would say that kind of a collaborative atmosphere or collaborative ecosystem is still lacking. There is still a perception of disbelief on both sides. Industry thinks that academicians always do theoretical stuff which do not have any value from an industry perspective. And academicians always have a feeling that whatever is happening in industry, they are definitely not quality stuff. So there is a sense of disbelief on either sides. So I think in India, there needs to be a lot of effort to be put in, a lot of conscious effort to be put in from both the sides so that we can come up with the best of the innovations which are happening in some of the organizations in the US and given, right? So that's what my 2 cents are.
So, would you say that it is the industry who should roll in the money and let the researchers in the academia do the research, heavy lifting, and then once the product or the theory or the algorithm, whatever, right, is the final output, it over back to the industry so that they can implement and get a real-time output of it and see how it works and all that. So is that what you mean by hand-in-hand collaboration?
Ideally so, Sudip. And I would say something that, for example, when we are talking about the Indian ecosystem, mostly what we see is an industry practitioner tries to stay within the gamut of the industry. They generally do not come out of their industry ecosystem, gets into the academic research labs and work with them. At the same time, the same thing is there with most of the academic researchers also. They do not come forward for most of them. I don't say that there is no single person in the academic sphere. There are people who do good work, but there are very few number of academic professionals who actually take that step forward and really try to pick up the industry problems and work on them. Right? So I think the effort has to happen from both sides. Industry will roll out money only when they see the eagerness in the academic ecosystem, because being in industry, I know that every penny matters, right? So they need to be very, very careful that every penny they spend is going to get a return on investment, right? So that is definitely there. So that way, I think the effort has to be from both sides. Industry needs to be more open to open up labs in academic setups. Till now, what happens is there are labs, but mostly within the government institutions. That's another problem in India. Generally, the entire trust and entire belief is on the government institutions, academic institutions, the IITs and the NITs, right? But if you look at the entire student base, which is being churned out every year, most of that, I should say maybe 70-80% are coming out of private institutions. So there is a big chunk of talent which is not being tapped by the industry by not making the investments with the private institutions. Even my experience, I will share with you. Like when I made attempts to talk with the industry practitioners and get the labs set up in the premises of our institute, which is a private institution. It's a very good institution, but end of the day, it's a private institution. There is always that shrugging off. Okay, it's fine, but you are a private institution. If you had been an NIT or an IIT, probably we would have thought much more seriously. So I think that mindset has to go off. It's not that kind of a mindset if you go to a country like US, right? Their private institutions also play a very important role in these collaborative innovations, right? That has to be there in India also.
Right, right. You make a lot of sense there. Like I was just talking to in another podcast, talking to a military general, where he said that we have the DRDOs, we have the HALs of the world to make weapons, aircrafts, or like whatever is there, right? But after Operation Sindoor, right, we see a very big shift in the mindset where private players are coming into the market with amazing kind of technology in terms of drones and guns and all that, all those like arms and ammunitions, the market, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so that kind of mindset and shift also needs to happen here, because also I personally believe that India as a society is not very research oriented, right? We are more service oriented. If you look at the last 20, 30, 50 years of Indian history, we have not even invented something which has changed the course of mankind, like an internet or maybe something like a wheel or fire. Those are two extremes, maybe even a light bulb or something like that, right? The only thing I can probably relate is maybe the UPI system, which is fundamentally a very, very good system that they have come up with. And again, that as government backing. Otherwise, I don't think people would have come up with such a thing. So that's my thought actually. So maybe around.
Absolutely. You are absolutely spot on, Sudip. And that is exactly where the industries also need to shed off their mindset that only the premier institutions like the IITs and NITs have all the talent pool in them. When I say talent pool, I mean the student talent pool. Because honestly, even when I do the work, research work, I also do quite a bit of industry consulting. That's something I do for my own passion. So the kind of output the young minds in the private institutions like ours, they bring to the table is definitely amazing. I don't think that somebody, just because that a student is studying in an IIT or an NIT, they can do something really, really extraordinarily different. That level of trust needs to happen, that needs to be there amongst the corporates in India. They need to start investing more in the research labs of the private institutions. That's what I feel.
Yeah, so interesting story I wanted to share with you through this discussion is that I have a relative who was studying in IIT Benares, right? He was working on something to do with research, and he after he brought out the results of the research, he had to send it to IIT Kanpur to get it validated, because IIT Benares did not have that facility to validate the outcome of that research, right? Whereas what you are saying, if it would have been a private institute, the work would have been much faster. He had to wait at least, I think, 3-4 months to get the results out of IIT Kanpur because of certain government level like bureaucracy, red tapeism, and all those kinds of things. So if you have to fast track things in this world of AI, who wants to wait for 4 weeks, 8 weeks, right? You need it now, and with especially with the Gen Z kind of people coming in, where people just left swipe and right swipe to get everything. Who is going to wait for 4 months?
Absolutely. You are spot on.
To watch the full conversation, click on the link in the comments below.